Okay, so let's just get right into it. Welcome back to the Behavior Code, everyone. I'm Maria.
And I'm Gabriel, and today we are tackling a huge topic: power.
And here's a bold truth to kick us off. Everything you probably think about power is wrong.
Oof, okay, go on.
We're conditioned to see power as loud, right? As forceful. The CEO banging their fist on the table, the politician yelling at a rally. We think it's about control and dominance over other people.
Right, an external force.
Exactly. But that's not power. That's a desperate attempt to look powerful. It's noise, it's ego. Real power is the opposite. It is subtle, it is quiet.
It's internal, and I think that's the core misunderstanding. Most people are so busy chasing the appearance of power that they never cultivate the real thing within themselves.
And that's why they never have it. They're playing a completely different game. They see someone who's calm and silent and they think, oh, they're weak. No, no, you have to look closer. The quietest person in the room is often the most powerful.
That's the person you need to watch. So in this episode, we're going to break that down. We're going to redefine power and show you why the quiet internal version is the only kind that actually matters. This is power. So if power isn't about being loud and controlling, what is it? I think at its core, real power is emotional control. It's the ability to master your own internal state regardless of what's happening outside of you.
Yes, that's it. It's not about controlling the meeting, it's about controlling your reaction to what happens in the meeting. It's discipline, it's detachment, it's the freedom that comes from not being a slave to your own impulses.
Right, and silence. We'll talk more about silence later, but it's a huge component. The ability to be comfortable in silence when everyone else is desperate to fill it, that's an incredible source of strength.
Now, let's contrast that with what we called fake power. What does that look like?
Fake power is all ego. It's needing to be right. It's needing to have the last word. It's talking over people.
It's attention seeking. Look at me, listen to me, validate me. It constantly needs fuel from the outside world. It's like a leaky bucket. You have to keep pouring external validation in just to feel okay.
That's a great analogy. Real power is a well. It's self-contained. It doesn't need anything from anyone else. The person with fake power, they're trying to control everyone around them because they have zero control over themselves. Their emotions are on a hair trigger.
Totally. You can poke them and they'll react exactly how you expect. They're predictable. And if you're predictable, you're easy to manipulate. You have no real power.
Zero. So the first step is just shifting that definition in your head. Power isn't something you exert over others, it's something you cultivate within yourself. It's self-mastery.
It's realizing that the ultimate prize isn't getting someone else to do what you want, it's getting yourself to do what you said you would do. It's about being unshakable.
Exactly. People feel that. When you're around someone who is genuinely, quietly, internally powerful, you feel their presence. It's a calm, grounded energy. It's not intimidating in an aggressive way, but it's formidable. You know you can't push them around.
Right, you just know. There's no need for them to announce it. And the person who's all bluster and noise, you can feel the insecurity underneath it all. It's fragile.
Let's add an example. Think about a high-stakes negotiation. The person with fake power comes in, makes loud demands, threatens to walk away. They're trying to control the situation through force.
Right, they're trying to strong-arm the other side.
Exactly. But the person with real power comes in calm. They listen more than they speak. They're completely detached from the outcome. They're willing to walk away, not as a threat, but because they genuinely don't need the deal to go their way. Who do you think has the upper hand?
The second person, 100%. The first person reveals all their cards, their desperation, their neediness. The second person is a vault. You have no idea what they're thinking or what their limit is. It's all about that internal locus of control versus an external one. Okay, so if that's the definition, why is real power so rare? Why do most people never even get close to it? I think the number one reason is approval seeking.
Oh, absolutely. The addiction to validation.
It's a deep, deep human need to be liked, to belong. And we're taught from childhood that the way to get that is to be agreeable, to be nice, to put others' needs before our own.
Which is essentially teaching us to give our power away from day one. If your sense of self-worth is dependent on someone else's opinion of you, you've handed them the keys to your entire emotional state.
And that's the opposite of power. And this ties directly into the second reason, a massive fear of rejection.
Yeah, people are terrified of being disliked or ostracized, so they'll do anything to avoid it. They won't speak up in a meeting even if they have a brilliant idea, because what if people think it's stupid?
Right. They won't set a boundary with a friend or family member who's taking advantage of them because they're afraid of the conflict, afraid of that person getting angry.
And every time you fail to set a necessary boundary, you're teaching yourself and the other person that your needs don't matter. You're eroding your own self-respect, brick by brick. A lack of boundaries is a huge power leak.
A huge one. And it all comes from that fear of someone else's negative reaction, which brings us to the next point, which is emotional reactivity.
This is the big one for me. This is where the rubber meets the road. Most people live in a state of constant reaction. The traffic is bad, they get angry. A coworker sends a passive-aggressive email, they get anxious or defensive. Someone cuts them in line, they get indignant.
Right, they're just a pinball bouncing from one emotional reaction to the next, and external events are the flippers. There's no space between the trigger and the response.
Exactly. The powerful person cultivates that space. The trigger happens, the email, the traffic, whatever, and they feel the initial emotional flicker, but they don't act on it. They observe it, they breathe, and then they choose their response.
Or they choose not to respond at all, which is often the most powerful move.
Often is. Most people they can't do it. They're so identified with their emotions that they think they are their anger or they are their anxiety. The idea of detaching from it and just observing it is completely foreign.
So it's like a cycle, right? You seek approval, which makes you fear rejection, which leads you to have no boundaries, which means you're constantly in a state of emotional reaction to what other people do or think. It's a prison.
It's the perfect prison, and you build it yourself. Breaking out starts with recognizing you're in it. Let's dig into one of the tools we mentioned earlier, silence. I think this is maybe the most misunderstood and underutilized tool for building power.
It's the perfect prison, and you build it yourself. Breaking out starts with recognizing you're in it. There's another piece to this puzzle, which is the comfort of the victim mentality. For some, it's easier to believe that the world is happening to them rather than because of them. It absolves them of responsibility, but at the cost of their power. To be powerful, you must take radical ownership of your life and choices. And people fight against that realization so hard because the victim story is comfortable. It's a warm blanket of, it's not my fault. But every time you tell that story, you're giving away a piece of your power. You're saying, my life is in the hands of external forces. The powerful person says, I am the force. Think of it this way. The victim asks, why is this happening to me? The powerful person asks, what am I going to do about this? The first question leads to powerlessness. The second leads to action and control. This simple switch in internal dialogue changes everything. It's the difference between being a passenger in your own life and being the driver. Oh, for sure. People are deeply, deeply uncomfortable with silence. In a conversation, if there's a pause for more than, 2 seconds, people rush to fill it with anything, just noise.
And the person who is comfortable with that pause, who can just sit in it and hold eye contact, they immediately gain control of the dynamic.
Why? Why is it so intimidating?
Well, for one, the person filling the silence is usually the one who's revealing information. They're nervous. They're showing their hand. If you're in negotiation and you make an offer and the other side just stays silent,
You immediately start to second guess yourself. Is the offer too low? Did I offend them? Should I say something else? You start negotiating against yourself.
exactly, you start talking, and the more you talk, the more you give away. The silent person is gathering all that information for free. But it's more than just a negotiation tactic. It builds mystery.
How so?
When you talk a lot, you reveal everything about yourself. Your thoughts, your insecurities, your plans. You become predictable. When you are reserved and you speak with intention, people don't know what you're thinking.
You become a black box.
Right, and that makes them project their own fears and hopes onto you. They can't easily categorize you or dismiss you. That mystery creates a certain gravity, an aura. People are drawn to what they can't quite figure out.
It's true. The person who tells you their life story in the first 5 minutes is, well, there's no intrigue there. You know everything. The person who listens, asks questions, and shares very little about themselves, you walk away wanting to know more.
And this leads to the third aspect, which is authority. Think about it. In any hierarchy, who talks more? The subordinate trying to prove their worth, or the boss who listens to everyone and then makes a final, concise decision?
The boss, yeah. The most powerful person in the room is rarely the one who talks the most. Their words have more weight because they use them sparingly.
When they do speak, it's an event. Everyone stops and listens. The person who's constantly talking, their words just become background noise. It's like verbal inflation. The more words you print, the less each one is worth.
That's a fantastic way to put it. Verbal inflation. So, using silence is about letting other people reveal themselves, building a sense of mystery, and making your own words more valuable. Okay, so this next one is detachment, which is tricky because people hear detachment and they think cold or uncaring.
Right, like being a robot, but that's not what we mean.
Not at all. Detachment in the context of power is about not needing a specific outcome. It's about being okay no matter which way things go.
It's freedom from neediness, and neediness is the ultimate power killer. The second you need something from someone, their approval, their love, a deal to go through, you have given them power over you.
100%. Think about dating. Who has more power? The person who is texting constantly, freaking out if they don't get a reply in 5 minutes?
Or the person who is busy, happy with their own life, and enjoys the other person's company but doesn't need it for their own happiness.
It's a no-brainer. The second person is magnetic. We are naturally drawn to people who are self-contained and whole on their own. Neediness is repulsive.
It is because it feels like a burden. When someone needs you, they're implicitly asking you to be responsible for their emotional state. And that's heavy. The detached person is light. They're inviting you to share in their already complete world, not asking you to fix their broken one.
I love that. And this makes you incredibly hard to manipulate. If you truly don't need the job, you can negotiate for the salary you deserve without fear. If you truly don't need a relationship to feel whole, you can set healthy boundaries without fear of the person leaving.
Because the worst case scenario isn't that bad. So you lose the job. So the person leaves. You'll be fine. You were fine before, you'll be fine after. When you operate from that frame, from that abundance mindset, your actions are completely different.
You move from a place of strength, not fear. Fear is what manipulators prey on. Fear of being alone, fear of missing out, fear of failure. Detachment is the antidote to that fear.
It really is. It doesn't mean you don't have goals or desires. You can still want the job. You can still love the person. You just release that desperate, clenched fist attachment to the outcome. You hold it with an open hand.
It's a muscle. The more you do it, the stronger your tolerance for uncertainty gets and the more detached and powerful you become.
That's it. It's not about being cold, it's about being free. All right, let's talk about discipline. This one sounds less sexy than mystery or detachment, but I think it might be the most important piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, it's the foundation for everything else, isn't it? Because you can't have emotional control or detachment without discipline.
Not at all. And I think we need to define it properly. Discipline isn't about punishment or forcing yourself to do things you hate. I see discipline as a form of self-respect. It's the act of keeping the promises you make to yourself.
I like that. So when you say you're going to wake up at 6 a.m. and you do it, you're not just getting an extra hour in your day, you're casting a vote for the person you want to be. You're building trust with yourself.
Exactly. And every time you break a promise to yourself, you hit snooze, you skip the workout, you eat the junk food you said you wouldn't, you're casting a vote against that person. You're eroding that self-trust.
And if you don't trust yourself, how can you expect to project any kind of power or confidence to the outside world? It's impossible. You'll be filled with self doubt because you have a long track record of letting yourself down.
That's the core of it. True lasting power and confidence don't come from affirmations or faking it till you make it. They come from a mountain of evidence built day by day that you are someone who does what they say they will do.
It's about integrity, personal integrity.
And this is how it connects to long-term influence. The world is full of people who are passionate for a week. They get a burst of motivation, they start a new project, they go all in, and then they fade.
Yeah, the flash in the pan.
Right. But the person who has discipline, they just keep going, day in, day out, when it's exciting and when it's boring, when they're motivated and when they're not. And over 5 or 10 years, that consistency is unbeatable. It crushes the person who relies only on fleeting inspiration.
It's the tortoise and the hare, but for everything in life. The slow, steady, disciplined action is what builds empires, both internal and external.
They compound, and over time, they build a person who respects themselves so deeply that they don't need to seek it from others. Their self-respect becomes a force field, and that is power. It's earned, not given.
So, we've talked a lot about the internal game of power, the discipline, the detachment. How does this manifest on the outside? In a room full of people, let's talk about the social dynamics. Let's make that more concrete. Think about two writers. One waits for inspiration to strike. They write 1,000 words one day, then nothing for 2 weeks. They're waiting for the feeling to be right. The other writer has discipline. They commit to writing 300 words every single day, whether they feel inspired or not. In a month, who has written more? Who has honed their craft more? It's not even a competition. The disciplined writer is a professional. The other is a hobbyist waiting for magic. Power lies in being the professional in your own life. And discipline creates freedom. That sounds like a contradiction, but it's not. The discipline of managing your finances gives you the freedom to quit a job you hate. The discipline of exercising gives you the freedom of a healthy body. The discipline of your daily writing gives you the freedom of a finished book. Without discipline, you're a slave to your moods and impulses. It's about choosing long-term freedom over short-term comfort. The impulse is to hit snooze, to eat the cake, to skip the difficult conversation. The disciplined choice is often harder in the moment, but it's what buys you a future with more options and more power.
Yeah, the nonverbals, because a lot of this is communicated without a single word being said. I think it starts with presence, just having presence.
What is that, though? It's one of those words that's hard to define.
It is. For me, presence is about being fully where you are. Your mind isn't racing, you're not fidgeting with your phone, you are grounded in the moment. You're not anxious about what just happened or what's about to happen. You're just here.
And that's rare. Most people are physically in the room, but their mind is a million miles away.
Exactly. And that groundedness creates a sense of calm and control that people pick up on subconsciously. It's a subtle status signal. The most powerful person is often the most relaxed.
Right. The junior employee is all jittery and nervous, and the senior executive is leaning back in their chair, calm, maybe even a little slow in their movements. They're not in a rush. They're not trying to impress anyone.
That's a huge status signal right there. Not trying to impress. The moment you're trying to impress someone, you've given them the power to validate or reject you. The powerful person operates as if they're already validated.
This is what you mean by controlling your energy. It's about not leaking that please like me vibe.
Yes, don't leak. You have to contain your energy. Be calm, be composed. Keep your body language open but not slobby. Make deliberate, steady eye contact. Don't fidget. Don't talk too fast. All these little things signal to the world that you are in control of yourself.
And it's a feedback loop, isn't it? When you consciously adopt more powerful body language, it actually makes you feel more powerful.
It does. The research on that is clear. Your physiology affects your psychology. So stand up straight, take up a little more space. Speak from your diaphragm, not from your throat.
Let's talk more about speaking. The powerful person often has a lower, slower vocal tone. They don't have that upward inflection at the end of their sentences that makes them sound like they're asking a question.
Yes, the up talk. It kills your authority. And your statements with a downward inflection, a period, not a question mark. It conveys certainty.
So it's this combination of being relaxed, deliberate in your movement and speech, not seeking validation, and just owning your space. It's subtle, but when you see it, it's undeniable. You can feel who has the power in the room before anyone even opens their mouth.
Okay, so this is all great, but let's make it super practical. People listening are probably thinking, okay, I get it. Now, what do I actually do? So, what are the concrete, actionable steps to become powerful? Let's talk about another concept here, which is frame control. The frame is the lens through which a social interaction is viewed. The person who controls the frame controls the interaction. For example, someone says to you in a meeting, "Are you sure you have enough experience to lead this project?" That's a challenge frame. They're setting the frame that you are junior and need to prove yourself. A weak response is to get defensive and list your credentials. That accepts their frame. A power response is to reframe it. You could smile and say, "I'm more interested in whether the team is aligned on the goals. Let's focus on that." You've just ignored their challenge and established a new frame, one of leadership and collaboration. That's frame control. It's about not playing their game. You're refusing to be put on the defensive and instead setting the agenda yourself. That's incredibly powerful. Another example, an interviewer asks, "Why should we hire you?" The standard response is to list your skills. You're trying to fit into their frame of you as a supplicant. A power response might be, "That's a good question. Based on my research, your team is struggling with X and Y. My experience in A and B have solved those exact problems before. I'm more interested in understanding if the company culture will support my approach to solving them." You've subtly shifted the frame from "prove yourself to me" to "I am the expert, let's see if we are a mutual fit." It completely changes the dynamic and puts you on an equal footing.
Right, the how to. I think step one has to be what we talked about earlier: speak less, listen more. Make it a conscious practice. In your next meeting, your next family dinner, your next date, set a goal to speak 30% less than you normally would.
And when you're not speaking, what are you doing? You're doing step two, which is observe more.
Yes, don't just wait for your turn to talk. Actually, watch people. Watch their body language. Listen to what they don't say. Who interrupts whom? Who looks to whom for approval after they speak?
You start to see the hidden matrix of social dynamics all around you. You see the power plays, the insecurities, the alliances. You become a student of human nature instead of just being a participant in the noise. And that knowledge is power.
So much power in that. Okay, so step one, speak less. Step two, observe more. What's step three?
Step three is the hardest one. Control your reactions. You have to build that space between stimulus and response. The next time you feel triggered by an email, a comment, anything, your mission is to do nothing,
Just for a little bit.
just for a little bit. Don't fire back the angry reply. Don't vent to a coworker. Just sit with the feeling. Acknowledge it. Okay, I'm feeling angry right now. And breathe. Let it pass through you without taking you over.
This is basically meditation in real time. It's training your nervous system to not be so reactive.
It is, and it's a superpower. The person who cannot be baited, who cannot be triggered, is a fortress. Okay, so that's step three. What's four?
Step four is to consciously build internal validation. This is the antidote to approval seeking. You have to become your own source of praise.
L.
At the end of each day, instead of thinking about what you did wrong, I want you to write down one thing you did that you're proud of. One promise you kept to yourself. Maybe you did the workout you didn't feel like doing. Maybe you stayed calm when a driver cut you off.
You're training your brain to look for evidence of your own competence and integrity.
Exactly. You're detaching from the need for your boss to say good job or for your post to get 100 likes. You become your own judge and you learn to be a kind and encouraging one. All right, so we've laid out the path. But what are the traps? What are the common mistakes people make when they're trying to, I guess, develop this quality? I'll start with a big one: over explaining.
Let's add a step five, and it's a physical one. Master your posture. We touched on this earlier, but it deserves its own point. Your body language doesn't just communicate to others, it communicates to yourself. Stand tall, shoulders back, chin up. It's not about being aggressive, it's about taking up the space you deserve. When you carry yourself with physical confidence, your mental confidence follows. Don't be an apology in human form, be a statement. And let's add a final step: practice saying no without explanation. Start small. Can you help me move this weekend? I'm not available. Want to grab a drink after work? I have other plans. You don't owe anyone a detailed excuse. Your time and energy are yours. Saying no cleanly and respectfully is a fundamental power skill. People pleasers think a no will damage a relationship. In reality, a well-placed, respectful no increases respect. It shows that you valued your own time and that your yes, when you give it, is genuine and not just the default setting. People will value your yes more when they know you're capable of saying no. Oh, that's a killer. You see it all the time. Someone says no to a request, and then they immediately follow it with a 5-minute long apology and justification.
Right. I'm so sorry I can't. It's just that my cousin is in town and the dog has an appointment, and I've been feeling really overwhelmed. It just screams insecurity. It's like you're trying to convince the other person and yourself that your no is valid.
A powerful no is just, no, I can't make that work. Period. No explanation needed. Over-explaining hands all the power back to the other person because it invites them to poke holes in your reasons.
Oh, well, if your cousin is only here until 3, then you could still make it. You open yourself up for a debate. Just don't. That's a huge mistake. What's another one?
Chasing validation. This is a subtle one. It's trying too hard to be liked. It's laughing too hard at the boss's joke. It's agreeing with everyone, even when you secretly disagree.
It's being a chameleon, changing your personality to fit whatever group you're in.
Yes, and people can smell it from a mile away. It feels inauthentic. It feels weak. Powerful people are willing to be disliked. They're willing to hold an unpopular opinion. They're consistent. Who they are doesn't change based on who's in the room.
That consistency builds trust. Even if people don't agree with you, they respect you because they know where you stand.
Exactly. So stop chasing. Let people come to you. The third and final mistake, which we've touched on, is just reacting emotionally to everything.
Getting baited.
Getting baited. Someone makes a passive-aggressive comment and you immediately get defensive. Someone criticizes your work and you crumble. You're letting other people control your emotional state with their word.
So, the 3 big mistakes: over-explaining, chasing validation, and reacting emotionally. Avoid those and you're already ahead of 99% of people.
So, we've covered a lot of ground today. We've redefined power not as something loud and external, but as something quiet, subtle, and internal.
It's emotional control, it's detachment. It's the quiet strength that comes from discipline and self-respect.
And I think the most important thing to remember is that this isn't a personality trait you're born with. No one is. It is a skill. It is a set of practices. And that means anyone can learn it.
Anyone. But it's not easy. It's called the behavior code for a reason. It requires conscious effort. Power is rare because the work required to build it is rare. It's built in those small, daily choices.
The choice to listen instead of talk. The choice to stay calm when you feel triggered. The choice to keep a promise to yourself when no one is watching. That's where power is forged. And remember, this isn't about manipulating or controlling others. That's the old, broken definition of power. This is about self-mastery. The ultimate goal is to become so internally secure and self-respecting that your need for external power over others simply melts away. You're not playing their game anymore because you've already won the only game that matters, the one within yourself.
So, our call to action for you this week is simple. Just pick one thing. Just one. Maybe it's the speak 30% less challenge. Maybe it's pausing for 3 deep breaths before you respond to a stressful email.
Don't try to change everything at once. Just pick one small practice and commit to it for 7 days. Observe what happens. Observe how you feel. Observe how others respond to you.
Because this is a journey. It's about building yourself, brick by brick, into someone who is unshakable, and it starts today.
That's our show for this week. Thank you for tuning in to The Behavior Code. I'm Gabriel.
And I'm Maria. Go out there and build your power. Quietly. We'll see you next time.